Right, I'm very excited to be talking to you about English Literary Studies at Stage 2 because it's a course that's very close to my heart and I love teaching it. I have a real passion for this subject and I've been excited to see it reintroduced at Stage 2 this year. The course is made up of a 70% school assessed component and a 30% externally assessed component. I'll just run through the requirements for the school-based assessment. So it's made up of two different components. It's made up of responding to text tasks and creating text tasks. In terms of the text response, the total word count for the text response component is 5,000 words. That can be configured in different ways depending on your teacher's preference. This year we did a critical perspective task where students had a look at a critical perspective like Marxism or psychoanalytical perspective lens, and they viewed the text through that and they wrote 1,500 words on their chosen text. For some students they did A Handmaid's Tale, others did burial rites, which we'll talk about a little bit later. They also did a poetry comparison where they wrote comparative paragraphs under headings. Again, that was 1,500 words. They did a comparative on the play A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen and Zhang Yimou's iconic film Raise the Red Lantern, and their final piece was a text response to burial rites. And the really cool thing about burial rites is that it's written by a local author, so it's written by Hannah Kent, who grew up in the Adelaide Hills. So there's two opportunities for creating text, and this was an opportunity for creative writing students to be able to choose literary studies, and there's more of an emphasis now on creative writing in the course than there used to be. So a lot of you probably at Stage 1 did a transformative task, and one of the tasks is a transformative task. This year we did it on burial rites, and students looked at the plot of burial rites and they transformed the text into either traditional execution ballads, or they did a podcast where they followed that genre of investigative journalism and tried to build up tension and make sure that they revealed the clues slowly so that they sort of could engage their audience and create a podcast about the events in burial rites, which is actually about the last execution in Iceland, which is quite interesting content. And Hannah Kent was an exchange student who'd been to Iceland, so quite a lot of links that the students might be able to relate to. And the other component is a free choice text. It's either 1,000 words or 6 minutes multimodal equivalent, and it is up to the student to choose their desired genre. So for us, some students had a passion for poetry, they wrote poetry, others wrote in the narrative form, and that was a really interesting task. And the 30%, which is externally assessed, is comprised of two different elements. One is an exam, which goes for an hour and a half. That's a critical reading, and we practice that a lot of times throughout the year, so students are very well prepared for that. And the other is a comparative essay, and that's a skill that's also developed through the responding to text tasks, but students have 1,500 words and they choose their own comparison, write their own question and write an essay. Had some really good examples this year. One student even did some of William Blake's poetry compared with Blade Runner, which was a really unique pairing. The students who should choose literary studies are ones who are hardworking and resilient. Please understand that if you choose literary studies at Stage 2 and you're used to getting A's, it might take some upskilling, and so you have to temper your expectations and work really hard and be able to bounce back if you don't necessarily get the results that you're hoping for right at the beginning. But it is a great course and it can lead on to pathways like journalism or, of course, English teaching if that's a passion.